Hello, everybody. This is the Friday night of CF5. We welcome you to our weekly webcast that is obviously all over the world, and we've got people coming in from all over the world to listen to our special guest. My name is Dr. Lee Osler. I live in the state of Washington. I'm a dentist here and have been with Jim and Ann Glenn. Wave to us. They're from San Antonio, co-hosts. As we mentioned, Dr. Maureen Hayes is excused this evening with some family responsibilities, and so we'll let her go. We have as our special guest tonight to help us with the CF5, Dr. Dick Walker and Nancy Walker. They happen to be up the road from me about 2.5 hours in Spokane, Washington, and are what we would call the veterans of the SEA. They've been hanging around this for long enough that they either should know better or have it all figured out, and they're going to help us tonight decide which. So we welcome both of you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Thanks. We're really happy to be here.
Well, we're
awesome.
glad. We've had
so Dick, why don't you share your background, what you were doing, both of y'all, then Nancy, but then how did you come across this discovery? But really, what is your background? Who is Dr. Dick Walker?
Yeah, I've been a physician for a long time. My specialties are emergency medicine, but my practice really, I kind of like doing exciting things, and I enjoyed that pace. I enjoyed, not knowing who was going to come through the door next, and being challenged that way. So I was a full-time emergency physician for, over 35 years. But I also was really interested in health and wellness and alternative things. I have a master's degree in preventive medicine as well. So that's my professional background. What I did to relax and calm down and de-stress was rock climbing, mountaineering, whitewater rafting. I've climbed Mount Everest. I've climbed many of the big peaks around the world. And I really, believe it or not, that was relaxing and de-stressing for me, because when I was doing that.
When did you start that?
I started that when I was in college. I started rock climbing. I couldn't afford to do the big expeditions until I was working as a doc and making some money, because it costs money to go on those big climbs. Plus you lose a lot of money because you're not making anything. You're not practicing medicine when you're gone.
Wait a minute. You said something that was shocking, that was the way you unplugged and you de-stressed by climbing up Mount Everest. You've got to be joking.
Climbing in general, because I would, if I had a difficult day at the emergency room, if it was still daylight out, I would hit the rock climbing area on the way home and climb for an hour or two. And because when you're doing that, you've got to focus on what's in front of you, or you're going to kill yourself. And so anything that I was worried about or stressed out about or upset about would just sort of fade away, because I would go out and, solo some climbs at the rock climbing area, or meet up with some buddies out there and do some climbs. And so I felt more alive, I think, when I was doing that kind of thing, climbing or whitewater boating. Or whitewater boating was my easy sport, although some people get freaked out by that. I didn't. I thought it was a lot less freaky than climbing, but it was fun. So
At one time we went upside down in the falls.
Yeah, I've been upside down a couple times in some class.
Well, real quick, Nancy, what did you do to unplug? What was your crazy thing to do to unplug?
I have to say, for years, I didn't have any time to unplug. And
really?
Dick worked a lot of hours, and he for the most part worked nights in the emergency room, and then I worked days, so we didn't see each other very much, except when we had time off, and then we would go rafting or something like that.
Or skiing, or
But I was a dental hygienist, for a lot of years, and in private practice, and I taught clinical skills at Eastern Washington University. And then I retired from that because Dick thought it was a good idea to import some alpacas from South America. And then we had a big ice storm and lost our electricity for 9 days, and I had to take care of these animals, so I had to retire because we had no water. And
how long ago was that?
I grew up. What was that? What?
No, I was saying, how long ago did you do the alpacas?
Oh, it's been quite a while ago.
It was okay.
Let's see, 1995.
But we did it for about
1996. They arrived from Bolivia, and our herd sire came from Peru. They came on a trailer. We had a little farmhouse, old little farmhouse that's still there below our house now. And so we did that for 20 years.
And I did that originally because I was kind of reconnected with my younger brother who I hadn't seen for a while. And he was actually, had just come down with cancer at that time. And I reconnected with him, and he talked me into buying half of a package of imported alpacas. And I grew up on a farm. We had this property. We weren't doing anything with it except growing weeds. And I thought, well, we might as well grow something that could eat the weeds. And so we ended up with a herd of alpacas. And then I've never done anything just kind of, half baked. And so I ended up being the head of the breed association, writing breed standards and all that kind of stuff, because it was just kind of what I do if I'm going to be engaged in something, But so I've done a bunch of things in my life, and having the alpacas kind of cut down on my ability to take off and go climb mountains for big chunks of time. I spent 3 or 4 months in Antarctica one time. That was good. That was pretty cool. That was a friend of mine called me up, and I'd actually signed up for a group that was going to try to bicycle across Russia for the first time. We were going to ride the right of way for the Trans-Siberian Railroad and go all the way from the Pacific coast to the Atlantic coast in Russia. And I don't think I'd given enough thought to how my backside was going to feel being on a bicycle that long. And fortunately, before that group really coalesced, I got a call from somebody saying, "Hey, we're putting together an Everest climb and we need a doc. Would you like to come?" And I thought, climbing Mount Everest or sitting on a bike for 4 months, I'll go to Everest.
Better excursion.
This is so fun to get to know, who you are. How did this all segue into Asea? I mean, what brought you to the current?
I think a lot of it was I've always been interested in new technologies. And I was in my mid 60s, and I was noticing that my body was starting to tell me that I maybe was going to have to slow down a little bit. And I didn't like my body telling me that. And so I was looking into performance stuff and anti-aging stuff, and I came across references to redox signaling, but I had no idea that there was a product. It just sounded like cool science, and a way that if there was a way to tap into it, that would be something I'd be interested in. And
so Dick, you discovered the science before you found the product. Is that what I'm hearing?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
But it was sort of like, okay, I'm academically interested in redox signaling. It sounds really cool. It sounds anti-aging. It sounds restorative, but I had no idea there was any way to actually use that technology, personally or to help people. And then Jerry White contacted me, and he says, "Hey, I got something you want to look at. I think you might want to look at." I said, "What is it?" He says, "It's redox." I said, "Absolutely. Let's get together. I want to hear about that." And a week later, I was down at corporate headquarters with a couple other people taking a look at this. So I discovered the science first, and had no idea there was a product or a business or anything until Jerry reached out to me. I said, "No, you got to be kidding. There's nothing like that out there." He said, "No, there is something like that out there." So, yeah.
Dick, that is so interesting, because I've thought about this into the next 10 years. And, because of all these institutes that are popping up, the research institutes, and, what I believe is a pharmaceutical industry's interest in this, and with other rabbit holes, there's going to come a time when masses of people will already know about redox signaling, but won't know where to turn.
Yeah.
Right now, when we talk to people, it's like they don't have a clue what we're talking about. But I think the day's coming when they will have known about it, not because we told them, but because, the rising tide raises all ships type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they wouldn't necessarily know. It would be like I was at first, this sounds really cool, but how do you get it? can't find it at
So Dick, we have a lot of new people that are watching, all over the globe that are just maybe got invited to come listen to you guys and us. What are these redox molecules? What do they do? Why should they be listening to us right now?
Well, they do a whole lot. Lee's written a whole book about what they do, but number one, they're native to your body. So every cell in your body makes these molecules that the biologists have labeled redox signaling molecules. And to make a long story short, we wouldn't be alive without them. Our bodies are basically biochemistry. Our cells are biochemical factories that have evolved to really work very efficiently. And to do that, to organize all that biochemistry, they had to figure out some structure, some system that would organize all of that. And as it turns out, everything in life is about information and communication, right? And so it's really a chemical way to coordinate and to transmit information in all of that complex chemistry that makes our cells run. And without going into the details, they're really, really important in the protective aspects of our cellular health. Most people have heard about antioxidants. And, like Lee was saying, everybody knows about antioxidants. Nobody knows about redox signaling molecules, but redox signaling molecules are as important, if not more so than antioxidants. They're like two sides of a coin. You've got redox signaling molecules on one side, you've got antioxidants on the other side, and there's just a whole bunch of chemistry and information and communication that goes on around the edges of that coin, so to speak, that maintains our life and maintains our health. So they're very protective in nature, but we also have a very effective system built in. I think Lee coined the term our inner doctor, that's really there to keep us healthy. Because long before we had doctors and long before we had pharmaceuticals, or our bodies have had to figure out how to fix and repair things, or else we would never live as long as we do. We probably wouldn't have survived as a species. So these mechanisms have evolved over time, so that if a cell is in distress, if it's injured or infected or wearing out because of age or whatever, there had to be ways to kind of bring things back towards health. And so these molecules, as it turns out, are very involved in detecting when there are problems at the cellular level. And of course, problems at the cellular level is what causes every disease known to man. But we have these mechanisms for self-repair that involves a lot of information processing and communication at that biochemical cellular level. So that whole repair process, the whole detection that there's something wrong, and then activation of all the transcription factors, synthesis of proteins, all that, epigenetics, all the stuff that we're realizing is essential for healthy cells, is really all directed to a large degree by these redox signaling molecules. And it's very complicated to explain how that happens, and we are learning new things about how that happens all the time. But I agree with Lee, this will be a major, major feature of the health system going forward. And just like people, I think when people have a runny nose, they say, grab me a Kleenex, but most of the time they've just got a tissue somewhere. It's not a Kleenex tissue. I think, eventually people are going to say, where's my Asea? Where's my Asea Redox? And we may have a bunch of other redox companies out there, but right now we're the only one. But so it detects those injuries, it then orchestrates that repair. And then it goes one very important step beyond that. And that is, if those cells can't be fixed, then it pulls the switch on that cell and says, you're out of here, buddy. We're going to recycle you and we're going to put a new one in there. And that's important for two big reasons. You want healthy cells. You want your liver to be doing what it's doing, your kidneys, your brain. You want to have a preponderance of healthy cells. But if cells stick around too long, they become what we call senescent. They're aged cells. They're maybe doing a little bit of work. They're like me at age 73. I don't do much physical work anymore. I can do a little bit, But if I wanted to get things done around the ranch, I wouldn't want to depend on me at my age. So I would
You're not senescent.
yeah, I would like young, healthy cells that are doing their job and not causing problems. And so being able to get rid of those aging cells that are just not there, maybe they're at 50% capacity and you want them to be at 100 and they can't. These redox molecules are the thing that says, hey, you're out of here. We're going to replace you with the new young guy. I'm glad that doesn't happen in society, but I'm real glad it happens in my body and I can drink Asea and help that process work.
Yeah. So I was going to ask Nancy, I know a couple years as y'all got into the business, didn't you sell your business to join Dick full time? Maybe you could tell your story. I don't know if it was related to because, doing something together or because you saw such a change. I know you have a great story, at least about discomfort, and maybe you can share how all of that came about to where you are doing a course together full time for what is it, total of 9 years now together?
Well,
okay.
Yeah. Dick saw this 9 years ago. I joined him after he started.
But you started using the product right away though.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I really was anxious to try the product because I had some physical challenges that I'd had for many, many, many years. Tired all the time and foggy brain, and I couldn't get organized. It was just a struggle. I was trying to stay active, but I couldn't really have an exercise routine every day because my muscles just did not recover. But the long story about that, I'll try to make it short. So Dick, I was interested in the product, but when he said, "Oh, this is a great opportunity," it's a great business opportunity, when he came back from Salt Lake City, and I thought, we had 150 alpacas.
Wow.
At that point,
We started with 15 or 10, something like that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
did all the vet work, all the breeding, and the birthing. If there was a problem, we had to deliver them and deliver the babies and train the babies. And then we went on the road 6 weeks every spring to show them. And I had an alpaca clothing store and I had a yarn business, and I took care of Dick's mother, and we have 4 children, and we were busy. We did not see each other much. And I thought,
one more thing.
Being on a train that is barreling down the tracks headed for a brick wall. And every night I'd go to bed and I'd think, when are we going to hit that brick wall? How are we going to keep going? And then he came home, said he wanted to start another business. And I was like, are you nuts or what? I just couldn't see how that could give us any more time.
Yeah.
And so I said, I leave me out of this. I had my store. That was my dream. I was trying to manage. I had an online store and I had a brick and mortar store, and I did all the merchandising, all the advertising. I had my own models. I took all the pictures, I did all that, and the alpaca, taking care of the animals. And it wasn't unusual for either one of us to work 15 hours in a day. He did it at night and I did it in the day. And, but then
that had to be really stressful on your relationship as well, I would think. That had to be really difficult. I'm not going to do marriage counseling now, but
we did that.
Had to be.
We did that. I didn't think it was very beneficial, but we did that for a while.
Well, but how many other people, guys, are out there right now that can relate to your story, Nancy, that, really one more thing?
Yeah.
That's crazy to even think about, Dick, to squeeze that into your schedule. Yeah. It had to be nuts. But yeah, you can probably see the bigger picture, but Nancy's kind of the day-to-day gal running everything day to day.
Yeah.
Well, I saw it as an answer to our time problem.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I'm looking at it today. Mm-hmm.
As another time suck on us, but I saw it as the answer. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But I remember one day sitting in my store. It was it was a farm store. So it was on the farm. People would come see the animals. I would do tours. I would do classes, how to card, the fiber, how to spin the yarn, how to dye the yarn, all that. So I was sitting in my store thinking, here I sit, and I spend so many hours waiting for people to come in and doing all this easy work and not getting, like I would have to call him at work to talk about the kids, and then his partners didn't want me calling, but that was the only time we had to catch up on what was going on. But I thought, why am I sitting in here? Because I'd seen over 3 years, a lot of people being helped. And I thought, I am not going to make anybody feel their life is not going to be changed when they buy an alpaca sweater. I mean, it's just not. And do I want to continue doing this? Or do I want to make a difference?
Yeah.
Now, how long did it take you to have your moment where you knew that this was real, that it wasn't just something, I don't know. When did you go, oh my gosh, this is real?
The product?
Mm-hmm.
Well, only 2 weeks. I mean, in 2 weeks, my mental fog was gone. I was sleeping only 8 hours instead of 10 hours. I felt energized. I didn't fall asleep when I drove the car. I stripped all the logs on the inside of our house and got them ready to be stained and refinished in the first 2 weeks. And
how much were you drinking in the beginning, Nancy?
8 ounces a day. Only it was,
We've never drunk anything less than that.
Choking it down.
Okay.
And, but it didn't take care of I had discomfort from head to toe. And I thought, well, it's helped me some, but it's probably not going to work for everything. But I kept drinking it, and I actually drank more. And then it took about, I had already been drinking it for 6 months, let me say that. And I still had, I hurt from head to toe, my joints, my muscles, all that. It was very stiff and sore all the time. But I increased my dose, and I thought, I don't know how that's going to help, but I'm going to do it. Somebody recommended it, and I doubled my dose for 2 weeks. And I woke up after 2 weeks of drinking 16 ounces a day, and I did not hurt for the first time in my adult life.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
Not only that, I was flexible. I mean, that's crazy to me. I've never been flexible, and nobody in my family is either. Like, I would try to do yoga, and I actually would cry because when I turned my head, my spine would burn. I mean, it was not just your usual kind of stiff. It was serious, but I didn't have that at all. And I have never had it again. I am flexible.
That's awesome.
Wow.
That's awesome. I remember hearing your story on stage. I guess it was right at about 6 years ago, because we were still new. And I thought it was just the neatest story to hear how you went from, you loved the product, you saw change, then you sold your business, and now y'all are a full-time team blowing it up all over the world. So pretty cool.
So Dick, what was, if you don't mind real quick, or did you already say, and I forgot already, I need more Asea, but what was your aha moment? Did you just know from the beginning that it was real? Did you ever doubt that the salt water from Salt Lake City, that's a dietary supplement, that it was real? And then when, again, did you have your aha moment?
Well, I'll have to say that my trust in the product grew over time, but I never doubted that this was going to be a big thing. And I think part of it was understanding the science, and then going down and being able to talk to some people on the scientific team when I took that trip down to Salt Lake. But also, I did like a lot of people do. Back then, everything was live meetings, but I went to a couple of meetings and people stood up and told these incredible stories. And I'm thinking, that sounds really interesting. And then I would always stay afterwards and try to, meet them in the hallway and question them. And, is this real? Is this placebo? Or, but I became increasingly convinced that this was doing something that nothing else was, because these people all had stories of things like Nancy that had been going on for a long time, and nothing was helping. And I'm thinking, wow, if this can do that for them, then this is a pretty big deal. And so I think I built my trust through what happened with Nancy. I didn't have an aha moment with the product. What my aha moment was, this is the only company in the world that has this. This can help people that are in desperate straits and have been there for a long time. And it can help athletes. It can help people. I did notice a performance benefit. I noticed that it helped me to work out harder, to recover quicker, that sort of thing.
Can I add something to what you did? Yeah. What made an impression on me is Dick went to a meeting one evening and he came home and he was telling me about this woman who had a daughter that was disabled, who drank Asea and had a miraculous, event happen. But he was telling me about it and he started to cry. And I thought, well, this is different. He's kind of a crusty old ER doc and this is making him cry. I thought, this is really profound. It's moving us, the stories. And that was another thing that contributed to my thinking, okay, I'm not going to sit in my retail store and do that anymore.
Yeah. Heck, did you just wipe a tear off?
Ah,
I did.
You did. Awesome.
you remember that story? Yeah. Now, didn't you see? Go ahead, Lee.
Dick, I want to follow up with that, because as you were just describing that, and then Nancy was describing that, I'm looking at the world for a minute through your glasses, and I'm thinking, here's a physician, because you made the comment that this wasn't working, that wasn't working, and I think most of the people out there, and then it'd be me included, look at somebody like you who's a physician who writes prescriptions for medications that fix things, quote unquote, all day long, every day of the week. And yet you're having this language thing here about there was nothing that was helping. That must be kind of a surreal moment for you to kind of realize the limitations and how this actually impacted your view of the world, at that moment. Can you comment on that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's no medication in the world that works for everybody. But I can tell you that, as a physician, you end up with about, maybe 20, 30, 40 medicines that you prescribe regularly because you've built up a trust in those medicines. And you've read the science and you understand how they work. But we also know that there are just a ton of people out there that no matter what we do for them within the confines of Western medicine, and even adding in the usual alternatives, there's still a lot of people that are suffering and nothing's really helping them. And they've tried everything. And I think the first, up until now in Asea, that's largely the audience that we have worked with. But I think increasingly we're starting to look at a wider audience. We're starting to attract people who aren't desperately ill, but understand what this technology can do for their health. And I think that just makes me even more confident that I made the right decision getting into the business of Asea, both from the financial standpoint, but also I went into medicine to help people. And this is just an extension of what I could do in medicine and has really expanded what I could do for people beyond what I could do with prescription medicines, which
it's also extended. Can I say it this way? It's extended or expanded your useful life. It's it's like when you retire from medicine, it's like you hang your shingle up and you're done. And I go to meetings sometimes and I see the retired guys around the edge and they still come because they want that feeling of belonging, and they're just as juiced, in their mind about what they're doing, but they're not doing it anymore. And so what I look in when I see it in your eyes is there's an excitement still after 35, 40 years of actually stitching people up. It's that you can continue to stitch people up without having to stitch them up. And you probably are impacting many more people now than you could ever possibly reach, one-on-one with
right.
your own sutures.
Oh, absolutely. In a 12-hour ER shift, if you saw 25 to 30 patients, you were running your fanny off to see that many people in 12 hours. And in Asea, when you build a big group like we have, we're impacting hundreds of people every day, if not more. So
Right.
That makes a huge, we're impacting thousands, but I bet you there's hundreds that are having aha experiences every day in Asea that wouldn't have had them if they hadn't gotten this technology. But I know what you're talking about, Lee, because I remember when I retired and I was, I was a good ER doc. I was efficient. I was quick. I could make diagnoses really quickly. And when I walked away to do Asea full time, I felt a little bit sad about that. But I also realized that I could do a lot more with Asea than I could staying in the ER and spending all that time at the hospital. Plus, I wanted to spend more time with my kids and with Nancy, and there were things I wanted to do that I hadn't had time to do. And so lifestyle-wise, the business has been wonderful for us, and it's allowed me to stay at the forefront of helping people and practicing my trade as a healer and a professional outside of Western medicine. But really, it's expanded what I can do. I haven't had any limitations.
And you get
Exactly.
So for both of you, then this is now becoming your way of life. This is your lifestyle.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Our kids look at that and say, why don't you just retire? And I'm thinking, and do what?
Exactly.
Go
Right,
back to
right.
alpacas.
No.
So Dick, I have a question. And I know we don't make claims to treat, diagnose, or cure. It's just our body has the ability to heal itself. So you had an experience where you were able to wean off of what you were taking for a good 4 years, right? And didn't you also see some pretty amazing results after your surgery? Was it your hip?
Knee.
Or knee. Okay. So you were like right back to skiing or whatever in a matter of weeks. So maybe you can share more about that. What I think is neat about the product, watching Jim, is weaning off of 530 pills he used to pop in the first 13 years of our marriage. I watched him suffer and and we know there's 3 pages of side effects to anything you're on. And for Jim, it was a very long, he was on one particular for 25 years. So just to watch you get your husband back and lifestyle change, I mean, that is why we are on a mission to share with as many people. But maybe you can share how you saw the molecules working. All that time they were working, then all of a sudden you're weaning off. Maybe you can share about that.
Yeah, I think you were on those meds for what, 40 years?
Yeah, I had a problem with
regulating.
Right.
For a long time. And I was on medicine for a long time for blood pressure. Yeah. Towards the end of that, I was on 4 different medicines to keep that under control. And then after drinking 8 ounces.
Since you were 39.
Yeah, since I was.
A long time. So it was.
Yeah, but it was controlled with that. But obviously, it wasn't fixing anything because if I forgot a couple of doses, my pressure would go right back up. But about 4 years after I started drinking Asea, I started noticing that I was getting lightheaded when I stood up or sat up quickly. And so I started checking my pressures more closely, and then they'd gotten too low. And so talked to my doc, and he said, well, why don't we just, drop them out, one this week. And if everything goes well, drop off the one next week. And I was within a couple of weeks, I was off of all of those, and my blood pressure's been just fine. And, we now know that through some of the studies that Asea has done, that Asea actually interacts with our cardiovascular system and improves the elasticity of our blood vessels. And so now the science is I'm kind of understanding probably why I had that experience. And that's a big deal because, most people, as they get older, that problem doesn't get better. It usually gets, either stays the same or gets worse. Yeah. And then with my knee.
No, go ahead, Derek. No, go ahead.
Your knee. Mm-hmm.
With my knee, I was, I wore that knee out. I've worn both of them out, but that was the worst one. And skiing, climbing, biking, whatever. My kids used to say, boy, Dad, when you get older, you're going to have a hard time. And I said, yeah, but I don't want to die with parts that aren't worn out. I want to wear them out, get the most mileage out of them, and then I'll just replace them.
He used to say that I'm going to slide into home base. I'm not going to walk.
Slide into the ground. There you go.
It's funny.
But I had that knee replaced, and I upped my Asea drinking, and then I was going through a tube of Renew, every 3 or 4 days. And I was seeing Sean Burke for part of my rehab, and he would just rub that Renew in there. And I can remember I'm on the exercise bike, and the goal was to be able to do a full revolution to get your knee to bend enough, and it hurt like hell when I ran around that first time all the way around the top. And I was screaming, and Sean was saying, "Yeah, cool." But 90 days after I had that knee replaced, I was downhill skiing.
Awesome.
And my orthopedic doctor said, "You're crazy, Walker." And I said, "Well, it's not hurting. The swelling's down, and why not?" And so I went skiing, no problem. Yeah. And he said, I don't usually recommend that for 6 months. And I said, well, the season's almost over.
Yeah, you can't miss out.
Come on, Doc. Now, something you had said earlier that no meds work on everyone, but yet, do these molecules work on everything alive?
They do. Yeah, they do. I mean, our life depends on.
Is there anybody that can come in and go, yeah, but they won't work on me, I'm going to wait and see? What would you say to that person?
Well, they may not notice an improvement right away. They may not notice that it's helping them, but it's helping them from the first swallow that they take. I know how they work, and I know that that's happening. But if you've got a lot of cells that are not doing what they're supposed to do, and your body has to takes some time for your body to repair those and kick them into shape and get them doing what needs to be done, and get rid of the ones that aren't behaving and can't be fixed. And that takes time. And it takes a critical number of those cells to get repaired before you're going to actually notice that. And it could be millions, billions of them that need to get repaired before you can realize that happens. That's why having people fill out that results tracker is so crucial, because most people don't take the time to establish a baseline. Where am I at right now? How much does that, how bad is my sleep, or how bad is my recovery, or whatever? And so having people spend a little bit of time, on that, establish a scale of 1 to 10, because I found a lot of times when people come back and at 2 weeks or a month and say, gosh, it's not doing anything. And I'll say, well, pull out the results tracker. Let's go through it. And invariably it is doing something when they actually think about it and realize where they were before they started it. But when you have little incremental changes from day to day, you don't notice it. But over a period of time, you start to recognize that it's really helping. And what's really unusual about Asea is that for a lot of people, and I think it's getting to that crucial number of cells that have fixed that your body has been able to repair, that they'll, I know a guy, we started on this, he was scheduled for hip surgery and his hip was worn out, and up until the 62nd day, he said, Dick, I can't say that it did anything. I woke up the 63rd day and my hip didn't hurt anymore. I went down and did a hike in the kitchen, and that was 8 years ago, and he still has that hip. He hasn't had to have that replaced. And I hear that frequently. Geez, doc, it's not doing anything. Oops, it just did it.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why we love doing this and, paying it forward to get people to understand, what you just said. Because my biggest fear, guys, is people get on this and they go, well, gee whiz, it either tastes yucky, tastes like icky pool water, or, wow, I didn't feel anything in a week or two. But how do you utilize the gel with the Renew 28, with what we've heard, Dr. Silverman and others, you as well, but the applying the gel 3 times in 5 minutes?
Yeah, a continuation of what you were saying was, it's a bloody shame when they quit before they realize that it's working.
Yeah.
Before they have their aha moment, or before they're willing to admit that this is really helping them, because you and I know that if they'd have just stayed on it, they would have gotten there eventually. If they just stayed on it, been willing to up their dose, that they would have gotten to that point. But a lot of people just give up too soon, which is really too bad.
That's what breaks my heart. It's so frustrating, but yet, there's not much we can do. That's human nature. Well, I don't feel it, and so it's not working.
Yep. Well, absolutely. So the renew a lot of times will give people a really quick experience, and you can use that. You can use the strength, flexibility, balance test, whichever way you want to demonstrate that. The 3 times in 5 minutes on a sore, achy, stiff joint, almost always you'll get significant benefit in like 10 minutes, and people are going, "Wow, what's going on there, man?" If it can do that, but also in people who are struggling to realize this is doing something, that doing that for them can often give them the belief long enough that it's going to help, to the point where they now trust that the product is something they should be taking for the long term. And I love that 3 and 5 and the strength, flexibility, balance test. That's why it's nice to be able to get back to person contact where we can do that.
Right.
Hard to do that on a webinar,
Right.
And some people wonder, this product is for overall health and prevention. It's not something we do like a medicine for something that goes wrong.
Or not just that.
Yeah. I mean, obviously it helps in that case too, but it also, what is surprising to me, every year, I mean, we've been drinking this for 9 years and putting on the topical molecules, and the benefits you get after a year are not all you're going to get. And after 2 years and after 3 years, and we never make any medical claims or recommend that you stop your medicine. Even Dick, being a doctor, he went to his doctor.
Right.
And had his doctor recommend.
I might not have, but Nancy said you better go do that.
It was good you did.
And I just want to point out, we know from our study in 2017 from that third-party laboratory, Torrey Labs, that it works through genetic pathways that regulate hormones. Well, I was on a medicine for 15 years and now I'm not. And
that just happened.
Yeah, it just happened.
That's awesome.
Wow.
That's another part. Great.
No. So anyway, I went to my doctor and did a test, and he's like, "Well, you don't really need this. You're not, Anyway, things like that happened, but it took a while. But I had so many other benefits in the meantime, and I'm going to continue to get benefits. Thinking clearly, energy.
Yeah, I know. Every once in a while, somebody says, "Well, how long do I have to take this for, Doc?" And I say, well, forever. And I just say, well, it depends on how long you want to be healthy. If you want to go back to your slovenly, unhealthy way, that's up to you. But if you want to be healthy, if you want to stay healthy, if you want to, beat back the ravages of aging and that sort of thing, you'll take it, for the rest of your years
and have quality of life. Yeah,
it's all about health span, not necessarily just lifespan. I mean,
exactly.
Yeah, what quality?
Living younger, longer.
It's nice to live an extra 10 years, but not if somebody's having to, feed you your soup because you can't get up to your mouth.
Well, and this is the whole point, about what we're discussing fundamentally. There's a reason why we're on these medications. They are an intervention to correct or to try to correct the symptom of an underlying metabolic disorder. When there's underlying metabolic disorder, it creates a dysfunction in the cell, so it can't do what it normally should be doing if it were functioning well. And so we come in as health professionals and we use, well-tested and tried and proven medications as an intervention, but that intervention is not going to the cellular level and fixing the metabolic dysfunction. It's just taking care of the symptom of the dysfunction. And that's what gives me the ability to have longevity, except I'm starting to die when I'm 45 or 50 or 60. And it's the medication intervention that's keeping me alive until whatever day it is that I finally do die. And your use of that word, the health span, the goal here is to make the health span be equal to the lifespan, rather than starting to die at 50 or 60 or 70 and having medical interventions keep us going, which is fine. And And this is why I think it's an important point, is that we're not disparaging the role of medicine. You think of it this way. There's a cliff, and at the bottom of the cliff are all of the ambulances and the ER doctors. And when people fall off the cliff, it's like, I'm glad you're there to stitch me up and set my bones and put me back, do the heart surgery and so forth. What we're doing is we're now, our role is up on top of the cliff, pushing people back away from the edge and putting a guardrail there saying, you don't have to go over the cliff. And so in saying that, it fully acknowledges we still need emergency rooms. That's just the reality. We still need medical interventions. There's just too much still going on. And there's a role for it. If I need an emergency room tomorrow, I hope there's a good one around, right? But our role is different. And so this isn't a battle against, traditional medicine. It's just saying we're playing a different role. We're getting people to move away from the edge of the cliff so they don't suffer the fall.
Right, exactly. And, I started like 4 urgent care centers in Spokane, and people used to say, well, we don't need another one of those. And I say, there is an unlimited demand for healthcare in this country, unlimited demand. And there's certainly an unlimited demand for wellness and life's, health and extension and stuff. There's no shortage of people who could benefit from this, and they're increasingly realizing that that's important. And, if you look at, I did some reading a while back on people who lived 100 or more years old. And I swear that those people must have a really healthy redox system, or healthier than the average person. That's got to have something to do with their longevity, because they tend to live healthily until they die. They don't dwindle and be on a whole bunch of medicine or stuff. They're highly functional, and then one day they're gone. But I think we don't study them enough. But I suspect that their cells are in a lot better redox balance than the average person, probably having something to do with their genetics. I don't know, but it'd be interesting to analyze that and kind of investigate that. But like you say, we've got a biological hack here. We can hack the system by simply drinking more redox molecules. And because we lose these molecules progressively with time, our body makes less and less of them. It's the most efficacious anti-aging technology that I'm aware of out there. And if you want to stay functional, if you want to keep playing with the grandkids and skiing and doing whatever and having fun, this is a big part of that. And I would highly recommend. We'll be taking it forever. I can't imagine not taking it.
Right.
And yeah.
Now, Nancy, I know your discomfort, we don't name any specifics, but your discomfort issue and then you doubling up, you started seeing the change. Isn't that, when you study that condition, related to sleep, circadian rhythm? We know that these molecules in the gene study affects the circadian rhythm. So could you tell that your sleep was improving? Could you see you were in REM sleep as the same time you were seeing that discomfort go away?
Well, I started sleeping better right away. I mean, my usual thing was 10 hours at night. And then I could barely drag myself out of bed in the morning when my alarm went off. And I thought I would think, someday I would love to sleep and not have to have an alarm, But then I wondered, how long would I sleep?
Now we can, but we don't need the alarm because we get up.
And within 2 weeks, I was only sleeping 8 hours. And I thought, well, this is weird. And plus I was in a good mood and I could get really organized, mentally.
Yeah.
I had 600 pounds of alpaca fleece in my garage in bags. I couldn't fit a car in there because I could not get organized to sort, because I had to sort it, by fineness, staple length, color, and sell it on the world market. But I just couldn't get around to it for years. And within those first 2 weeks, I did that too. Plus I stripped the logs on the inside of our house.
Wow.
That's awesome. One of my favorite. Do what?
I think I'm going to give my wife some more.
Yeah.
Awesome.
This is really good. Drink some more.
Well, And it's safe enough to take more. People, I know we have at least one I know of that's brand new. And so it is safe to take extra. You know, Jim and I
there is
taking
no,
now.
there is no
That's
too
right.
much.
No toxicity. That's right. That's right. One of my favorite videos, and some ladies may not know about this, and of course this is pertainable to men too, but Nancy, I love the video you did when you were interviewing, and I don't know the gal's name, part of the staff on skincare. And, you know, maybe we can locate that and add it to the comments for Asea United when this is, of course, you know, listed there in live. But that's an awesome video with proper instruction. You know, we only have four products for those that are new, and 2 of those are redox signaling. But I think people minimize how fabulous our skincare is. I never, you know, we were raising kids and I was more focused on our teenagers and their skin than I didn't have time with 6 kids that are, you know, that we'd have together. So I didn't have time to think about any of that. And I remember us getting Clinique for Chrissy, and then finally Asea came, and I just absolutely love our 4 products. But that video, women should go find it, because it's really informative. But then you added, what's the gal's name that's the stat? I mean, is she still with Asea that focuses on her skincare? I know there's others, but it's just a great video.
Yeah, that was where I interviewed Angel Sun.
That's it. Sun.
Yeah, she from San Francisco, and I actually I have that recorded. It was from September of 2020.
Yes.
And on my Vimeo channel. So you want me to just put that in?
Awesome. That'd be great. Just, I know people will want to know. That's great.
Now, a topic that I was hoping to spend more time on, because I think it's absolutely critical, as well as nutrition. Dr. Walker, you have a master's degree in nutrition, correct?
I do, yeah.
And that was very unusual back in that time when you got that. But how critical is nutrition? And then again, in a couple of minutes, with the supplements that we have, how does that assist the body in doing the repair work and repair?
Yeah.
Well, it's crucial. I mean, that's all we had was nutritionals until Asea came along. We didn't have the redox molecules that are sort of the workforce, the worker bees, the thing that kind of binds everything together and makes everything work right. We just had nutrition, and most nutritional things I describe those as the building blocks of cells. When you're going to repair a cell that's dysfunctional or damaged, you need the building blocks. You need the amino acids. You need to be able to construct the enzymes and all that kind of stuff. And that's really what you get in your food or your nutritionals. But unfortunately, and I would say that, 100 years ago, if you were really working hard, you could get most of what you needed in your diet, because food was more what I call nutritionally dense. It had a lot more. It had a lot more of the nutrients in it that we need. Although we've identified certain nutritional things that we need to supplement with, or there used to be a bunch of nutritional diseases like scurvy, which was deficiency in vitamin C. And, over time, enough of that has been supplemented in foodstuffs and things, but we can't get everything we need in our diet anymore. We can't eat enough food, maintain a healthy weight, and get all of the nutrients that we need, because food just doesn't have the density of that good nutrition that it used to have. And so it's really essential that you take supplements. And at the same time, it's really important that your supplements be in the form of food in some way. And so Asea has a great supplement source, which is a food-based supplement. So they've basically concentrated nutrients, essential nutrients that we need from food, put it in a concentrated form so that we can get the nutrition we need without worrying so much about what we're eating, meals and stuff. And then there are certain nutrients that like the omegas, the fish oils, you can only get if you eat an oily fish type thing, once a week or more. Not all of us have access to that or like that. And so you can supplement now with the omega-3s and 6s. Those are important, we know, for brain health, especially for cardiovascular health. And then, there are there's increasingly information about more exotic things like mushroom extracts and those sorts of things that we know have certain benefits on our health. And that's where the Life Max comes in. So Asea has brought in some of the, high-end nutritional supplements that people who are in the industry and nutritionally aware of these cool things, these avant-garde nutritional reishi mushrooms and that sort of thing that most of us can't get at the supermarket. And so that's a great addition. And then in the last 10 years, we've really focused a lot of attention on gut, on the microbiome in your intestinal tract and how important that is. So the biome is a very important addition to that. And all of the different strains of beneficial bacteria that are in there have been shown in independent research to help our bodies in a number of different ways. And when you tell people that what you put in your gut makes a difference on what your brain is doing and on your blood sugar control and on all the different things, we didn't know that. We didn't know that much about that 15 or 20 years ago. And now it's increasingly obvious that we need to be pampering our gut microbiome and supplying the right mix of beneficial bacteria in there. And that can make a huge difference. Nancy and I, we stay pretty healthy. And, as we're getting up in age, we've got a lot of people that we know that are getting sick and dying. And, every once in a while we'll look at each other and say, man, are we just blessed or what? And I said, no, we have focused on health for 20 or 30 years or more. We focus on what we eat. We focus on the nutrition that we take. We focus on redox signaling when that became available. So we pay a lot of attention. You don't need to pay as much attention to it as Lee and I do, but because we're interested in that and we have a background in health science and that kind of thing. All you've got to do is take the products.
But let me just interject here. Pay is the word here. You're either going to pay now for your health or you're going to pay later for when you get sick. And I tell this story once in a while. I haven't told it for a while, but I used to think, wow, when Dick was working in the ER, there were 24 partners. That was big ER. And all those, everybody except for us had a ski condo, a lake house, a second home. And we spent our money on wellness products. Yeah. For us and for our children and for his mom. And we always felt, I knew that a lot of people thought we were nuts, but Dick's the only one now that hasn't had a heart attack or a stroke. Yeah.
Something like that.
They never see it. They never see it on the early years, and then it catches up with them later. And I love that the redox signaling makes all the nutritional things you do work better, right, Dick? I mean, they synergetically work together. I like that the nutrition, they're 100% absorption. So you're getting all that your body needs. And you can, those that don't like to pop a pill, they can crack open those rice capsules if they want to and mix it in with something so they don't have to have a pill going down their throat. So I can't say enough about our nutrition. We have a great video with an RD, and you can get more details on a 4-minute short video. We can send you, whoever invited you. So.
Well, guys, we're at the top of the hour.
Yeah.
I can't believe this. We can say something, Nancy?
I was just going to say what Ann was saying on top of that. That's why you don't ever burp them, or, they don't upset your stomach. They're 100%, whole food nutrition that's bioavailable. Your body uses it. So it's going to go to use right away.
That's awesome.
So, Lee, you have anything you want to close with? I think we have a little bit of a thing you want to make a little bit of an announcement about.
Yes.
The book
We're
is
all
site.
familiar with Redox Matters, hopefully. And, Dick's got a wonderful endorsement in it.
Yeah, I read it.
We have now established the Redox Matters website, and all of the Asea 5 videos currently, as well as many of the archived ones, are available at redoxmatters.com.
Great.
And so there'll be 2 playlists there, essentially 2 drop downs. One is for the recent ones. And so as soon as this one gets up here in the next 24 hours, it will be added. to that list, and then all of the archived ones are indexable by the guest and the date. And so go to redoxmatters.com and you can see all the ASEA 5 videos. We now have a platform for those.
Yeah, that's awesome. I read that in the archives. I was like, wow, I'm seeing all these ones from last year, and it was neat to see all of the many guests that have come. So pretty cool. Thank you.
Well, guys, we definitely want to have y'all back. There's so many things that I wanted to dig in a little bit deeper. The one thing where I was 6.5 years ago, guys, I had no hope. I had no hope for my health with my back issues, and I was on a lot of meds, and I knew those were doing a lot of damage to my body, and also the financial. And Dick, I was hoping with Nancy to get into more of that. We will next time, but it's changed my life. It's changed our life. It's given me hope. But there's so many people that have lost the hope, and there's so many people that don't realize that this is available to give people that, no matter your age. It's ageless. Everybody, we've got children that are having health issues. Everybody needs this, but no one knows anything about it. And the only way people are going to hear about it is if we talk, because we don't use any other form of advertising. So next week, I'm very excited. We've got Danny Doyle live from wherever he is.
Hawaii, maybe?
And he's not in Hawaii anymore. And then we got Lorraine Bavart, who's also going to be joining us. Who is an amazing athlete in her own right. Yep. And so, but their stories are life-changing. And also what they've been able to do with the opportunity is beyond life-changing. So you definitely want to come back and join us next Friday. We will be back here. Maureen actually has a prior commitment as well next week. So we will be the ASEA 5 because we'll have 2 of them, and then Lee and Ann and myself. Yeah. So, is there anything last words you want to say, Dick and Nancy? And Lee?
I would love to have a conversation more focused on the business, because the business is really what got me in and has kept me in. I mean, I would still be taking the product regardless, but the business, within about the time that Nancy didn't join me in the business till we were Diamond, and that was about the time where I was when my income from ASEA was challenging my income at the hospital, and I'm starting to think about cutting back on the hours and retiring early and really enjoying life. And I wouldn't have been. I don't know if I'd still be working, but I might still be working at the hospital if it weren't for the ASEA business. The ASEA business has been unbelievable for us. The freedom of disability and time freedom that it's given us.
Time with your grandkids. That's awesome.
What's also amazing is giving that financial opportunity to other people.
Absolutely.
It's not just about you. It's about giving that blessing to somebody else, to another family. And I know you've got a lot of people underneath you that are doing quite well.
Yeah.
Nancy, anything you want to say?
Well, it would be nice to have more time to talk about it. We'd have a very different retirement than we have now. If Dick did not have the foresight to create an additional stream of income. And I think all retired people, when you retire, I mean, it's amazing how your lifestyle can change in a big hurry if you don't if you don't make a plan ahead of
a purpose. Everybody has to have a reason to get up every morning. You have to have something bigger than you. Yeah.
That's great.
Totally agree. Lee, anything else?
No, it's such a pleasure to have both Dick and Nancy on with us tonight.
I love you guys. You guys are some of our favorites.
Great inspiration on both sides of that coin, and I appreciate your commitment to ASEA and just the great, wonderful people you are in caring for others. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. We'll be back next Friday. This is the fastest hour in ASEA. So, guys, thank you so much.
Bye-bye, everybody.
To stop that.